What's going on, guys? Eddie Kalegi here for Motorsports Today at Darlington Raceway. The track too tough to tame, 75 years of history, and another chapter written this weekend. NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series in action. I'm here, Tim Moore, Colin Ward as well. Xfinity Series always produces great racing here. A lot of controversy last weekend at Martinsville Raceway. 3 Cup Series drivers in the field, including Christopher Bell and Ross Chastain, and tons of throwbacks. Really cool looks because it is throwback weekend. In the Cup Series, Darlington, 2 kind of underdog winners last year. Brad Keselowski stole the win from Chris Buescher and Tyler Reddick in the spring race. Chase Briscoe won in the fall. Should be a good battle. Race 8 of the season. We got the media bullpen, a lot of alumni of the sport for Throwback Weekend in the building as well. So stay tuned. Lots of highlights, clips, and more all weekend long for Motorsports Today at Darlington Raceway. Chase Elliott and Hendrick Motorsports have had a strong start to the 2025 season. Here's what Elliott had to say about that and some interesting comments about the relationship with his teammates. Certainly not uncharted waters for you guys at Hendrick to be atop the standings early in the season, and all 4 of you guys solidly top 10 in points. What do you attribute most to your ability consistently to get off to strong starts?
Yeah, I just think that, the company as a whole has done a great job over the winter. To build really, really fast race cars. I think there's some areas that we can be better. I really don't think we're at our best, really any of us, honestly. So it's encouraging to see that we can pretty confidently say, hey, these are flaws. These are areas that can certainly have improvement. So that's an exciting place to be, in my opinion, because there's so much more racing left this year and opportunities to get where we want to be, and I think we can do that.
You mentioned how there's a lot of movement in the garage these days, but your driver lineup, you guys have stayed intact now for half a decade, hard to believe. And as the veteran driver in that stable, how would you say just building that chemistry year to year with Kyle and Alex and William has kind of benefited you guys to get to this point?
Yeah, I just think we have a really good working relationship. I mean, none of us are best friends off the racetrack. We don't hang out, not because we don't like each other. We just kind of run in different circles. But we have a really good working relationship when we show up and we have our meetings. I think everybody's open and honest and willing to help one another. We show each other a lot of respect on the racetrack, and just kind of how it should be. And those guys give me respect, and I'm going to give it back at least that much and probably then some. That's just how I am, and I enjoy being around guys like that who are hungry and want to get the job done for their team, but also kind of have the bigger picture.
One of Elliott's teammates is Alex Bowman, who nearly won at Homestead, and he talked with Tim Moore about this weekend heading into Darlington.
Chase talked about in his presser about how you guys as teammates, not exactly as a group the best of friends, but business relationship-wise has been strong. What is it like communication-wise, and what do you guys attribute to the success early on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done a good job to start the year. We've honestly had a really good season on the 48 car minus stage 2 on from Martinsville. So, excited to be here. But I think, just a lot of depth at HMS. Everybody's working really well together. And, everybody's pitching in. So it's been good.
And last year, it seemed like in this first race, both you and Blake made a lot of progress towards the end of the race. What is it that you feel like that you've been missing to get towards that top 5 and race winning contention here as compared to running towards that 10th to 15th?
Yeah, we've struggled here the last couple of years. Had some really good races here, like early 2020s, and since then we've kind of struggled. So just trying to get my hands around the next-gen car at this place a little bit, and I think qualifying is a lot of it. Just need to qualify well. It's really difficult to overcome track position here, so hopefully we're on the right side of things this week.
William Byron has had some historic success at Darlington Raceway. He talked about balancing qualifying and race trim and ultimately won the pole.
Where do you rate the commitment level when you come here to qualify, and where do you rate it compared to other tracks on the schedule?
Ooh, yeah, been thinking about that. This is a long run place, but short runs are also important, and they're really different than the long runs. So, we have traditionally qualified in the top 10 here, usually in the top 5, but never on the pole, it seems like. So it'd be nice to get that pole and have that number 1 pit stall and just have a little bit easier breathing, tonight, overnight.
And I noticed a little bit this week, Chase Elliott spent some time back on iRacing, getting some extra laps at Darlington. He ran a couple of fixed races. I'm wondering, how often do you get back on the sim? And when you do you look to get extra reps, or are you just looking to have a little bit of fun when you get on?
Yeah. Well, dang. I was going to get on this week, and my sound didn't work on my sim, so I needed to call somebody and figure out how to get it to work. Usually Anthony's my guy for that, so got to call Anthony maybe later this week and get it going. But I did get on there. I actually ran some sprint car laps, but I thought about it. Just feel like I get around this place well. It's just trying to study, other stuff.
Chase Briscoe shocked everyone last year when he went 4th to 1st in the final restart to win the Southern 500. Briscoe discusses what lessons he learned from that race that he can apply to the same track, but with a new team.
Last year, it seemed like things really started to click here. You guys were able to put together races and so on. I'm wondering, what is it that you have learned that maybe helped last season and that you can carry over to the new team and new car this year?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I feel like ever since I came here for the first time in Xfinity, it's been a track that I kind of just understand. Definitely as I've ran, every time I come here, I learn little things, right? But I feel like even before last year, we were always fairly competitive here at SHR. We were always 10th to 13th kind of. We just always were missing just a little bit setup-wise, and I felt like we found that last year, was able to, this race, I think we ran 4th or 5th, and then obviously for the Southern 500, we found that little bit extra and was really, really good.
How about the wall, the lady in black, the Darlington stripe? Is it still relevant? Can you use the wall? Denny, Hamlin, Joey Logano, Austin Dillon, 3 veterans of the series who have run at this track for a decade plus, all had some varying opinions. When you think back to earlier in your career, it felt like a talking point whenever you came here was the Darlington stripe, and you don't want to get damage in the car. And obviously, the next-gen car is a bit different, and you look back at Miami a couple weeks ago, and Kyle Larson was practically touching the wall every lap. So how has the approach kind of changed for you in terms of driving here and using the wall to your advantage driving the next-gen?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that it has changed over time. I think as time has gone on, you've seen everybody's so good at running the wall now, or running close to it, that typically I think you can find good cars and good drivers that can make time off the wall. It used to be because not many people ran right on it for such a extended period of time that if you could just run within a few inches of it, you would get into better asphalt than others. Now everyone kind of runs so close to the wall that now you're only getting the aero effect. But here at this track, the speeds aren't as high, so you don't get as big of a benefit running right on the wall as you do at somewhere like Homestead that has higher corner speeds. So I don't think the wall has as big of an advantage as it used to have, but it is still typically the fastest lane around here. But I think if you have a car that or a driver that saves his tires a little bit more, you can have enough disparity in speed to make passes elsewhere.
I think everyone still talks about it. I just think the biggest difference is the composite body. I don't know what Denny said, but I would assume that's probably a similar direction, that when you hit the wall now, it's not day ending unless you clobber it, but you can brush it and the body pops back and life's okay. You used to, you hit the wall and it knocked the shape out of the right side, and you'd have a fender rub to go along with it, or a cut tire, and it would ruin your day. The risk was much higher.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the toe links in this car, so you can't really impact the wall a lot. You can hit it correctly. You see guys hit the rear of the car at Homestead and be able to make it just fine. So it's never good to hit the wall. You don't feel good about it, but it is a tool sometimes in this car if you hit it correctly, I guess.
Here's more of what Austin Dillon told me before this weekend's action.
Well, I love coming here. It definitely has a throwback feel, as you could say, and seeing the cars out there. The track's a throwback. I love driving to the track from my hometown and being able to get here and just enjoy it. The way tires fall off reminds me of old school racing.
And last one from me, it's just general feelings about how the season's going so far. Strong run, felt like some positives from Martinsville heading into this weekend.
Yeah, we've had speed, and that's what's very special, even at the 1.5 miles. So I've probably passed more race cars in the last 3 weeks than I feel like I have in 2 years. So been passing a lot of cars, haven't gotten the finishes from it. So today and tomorrow is going to be important. We'd love to get a a finish that we feel like we deserve, and hopefully our car is about the same as it's been the last 3 weeks.
Chris Buescher all but had a win in the Goodyear 400 last year. He talked about his confidence and how this race just means more.
Yeah, you know what, we've certainly been good to start the year. Our main goal on Team 17 was to win a race in the first 8 this year, and to certainly be a lot more competitive in the first 8. That's where we've missed the last couple of years and gotten behind, and we've been competitive, maybe not quite able to win most of these. We've been good enough where we probably could have snuck one if we'd have had some things go our way or done a little better job somewhere along the way, but it's certainly in the hunt. But it's a small step that we still need to truly be fighting for wins every week right now. And we know that, and I don't know exactly what it is. There's people a lot smarter than me working on it, I promise you. So, and Brad being one of them. So, you know what? It's certainly on our radar. We're not content. We know we're not good enough. We're not where we need to be. We need more. We just need a little bit more speed, right? Whether that's a little bit of front turn here or if that's long run pace. There's a balancing act to it, but we need to take just one small step forward. If we could consistently be 5 spots better, then that takes our bad weeks right now and makes them pretty decent.
You should have won here last year, but bad luck struck you. Is there at least still a little bit of frustration and a little bit of motivation when you come back here because of that?
That was good until I was watching first practice group go out and the highlight came back up, or the low light for us. So, you know what, it's should have won is a little bit of stretch, right? We should have had a chance to fight for that win at the end, and we did not. But, we've been really strong here at Darlington for quite a few years now, and Scott and this team have done a great job. All of RFK has done a great job bringing fast race cars, and I think Priest ended up second, it looks like, back there for qualifying. So I know we continue to bring fast race cars to this place, and we're gonna get to where we need to be. So I challenge myself a lot not to live in the past, and I do a pretty decent job of being in the moment and looking out the windshield. But certainly when stuff comes up, you just kind of look around, and our whole team's still a little sour about it, right? But we had several moments like that last year where we were in the hunt to win races and didn't get the job done. Got a good one at the Glen, right? But had chances to win a couple more along the way and just weren't able to make it happen. And it still stings sometimes, but it's time to go put a trophy up on the shelf and move past. Start looking out the windshield again.
Tyler Reddick made contact with Chris Buescher in last year's race. Does Reddick view Darlington as similar to Miami? You've had a lot of success the last 2 times you've gone to Miami. Do you see that point of view, or is this kind of its own animal?
It's definitely different. You cannot run the wall the entire way around this racetrack. Well, I haven't yet. Maybe tomorrow will work out. I don't know, but certainly, just as the tires wear, the top 3 and 4 is the place to be. The closer you get to 1 and 2, seems to be better too. So it has similarities. You're looking for the same feel, but the wall is a lot more forgiving at Homestead than it is here.
AJ Allmendinger is back in the NASCAR Cup Series again. Was the time away a detriment? And how does he feel about his confidence at a track where he statistically has struggled?
How hard is it catching back up after missing a little bit of time in this next-gen car, considering you have the minimal experience at this track?
I don't think it's overly difficult, because every year I feel like, whether it's making our stuff better, the handling characteristics of the car change. So I think the biggest thing is, like, first few laps, kind of getting the brake markers and just overall feel of the car. But with sim and everything like that, and just, watching old, last year's races and in-car stuff, I feel okay about it. I think it's more just me getting comfortable with the racetrack, which is no different than in the Xfinity car last year.
And you guys early on in the playoff hunt, you guys have been really strong in the intermediate tracks. What's been the biggest attributive factor towards the success, at least in the intermediates? Because I feel like you come back to a track like this is an AJ-style track to come out there and compete in the top 10.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, this is, if you look at stats, it's not one of my best ones. I feel like over the last few years, I've gotten at least a little bit more confident at it, because I used to show up here and just lost. So, but no, overall, think at college racing, it's just generally making our stuff better. Like, by no means are we as good as we need to be, but we're definitely stronger. I take Martinsville last week. That's a racetrack that with the new gen car we've struggled at. Ty was pretty good. We were having a strong run and just got too loose on the last run. So, I think making the drivability of the cars, because even when we haven't been as fast as we want to be, the drivability of the cars are pretty good.
Todd Gilliland is one of many drivers embracing NASCAR's throwback weekend with a special paint scheme. He talked about that and his confidence after a strong run at Martinsville last week. How big of a deal the family aspect is of this sport. And of course, you had a parent who raced in this series not too long ago. So when you consider all of that and coming back to venues like Darlington, just how crucial it is that NASCAR continues to kind of pave back and look back at its history.
Yeah, it's massive. Every time you walk into Darlington, you can tell, there's history here. Sometimes you wonder if they've, changed anything, right? And it's kind of what makes this place so special. Is just like you can almost picture, right? Dale Earnhardt was probably in the same garage area, everything. So you can really feel the history here. And like you said, I think with our throwback in particular, it gives me a much bigger appreciation for the family aspect of it with, me being a third generation driver where Justin Fox, my tire changer, is the fourth generation in motorsports or in NASCAR. So it's cool. 75 years is a long time, and our throwback takes it back to the late 50s, early 60s, so near the beginning of all of this.
Good run at Martinsville last week, kind of snapped the cold streak. How do you now take that and keep the momentum up at a very different track in Darlington this weekend?
Yeah, I definitely feel like these two tracks back-to-back would be a strong suit for us. Places I've run well at both in the past, so I'm excited for it. I definitely think qualifying 12th is a good step in the right direction. And also, that all kind of starts, back at Martinsville, right? Finishing well really puts us, later to go out qualifying where the track conditions are much better, and it just really snowballs in a good way, right? So, got to keep the momentum going, and I feel like our car is capable of running well.
This isn't the Southern 500, but it's still Darlington Raceway. Is it still significant? I asked Austin Cindric. Austin, when you come to a track like this, obviously you've won a Daytona 500, and there's crown jewel events, and of course any win means something, but at Darlington, this isn't the Southern 500, but it's still Darlington. So when you consider a win here, how much does the event mean versus actually being at the venue?
Well, I think when you prepare for each week as a driver, the racetrack itself is what drives everything, whether that's from the team, or how to drive the car, what your challenges are going to be, how you're going to use the tires. The track is everything, and that's what makes each week for me different. And when you think of this racetrack, there's no easy wins at this racetrack. So to think about an opportunity to win here is really cool, but because of that, because it is so well respected, and it demands that type of respect and that type of focus throughout the entirety of the race.
Saturday afternoon wrapped with the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Justin Allgaier had a great day, got some coaching from Dale Jr., but it wasn't enough. Brandon Jones, snapping a 3-year skid with some great Stage 3 restarts, got the victory. Let's hear from Chase Elliott, Justin Allgaier, and Connor Zilisch, who came home 2nd, 3rd, and 6th.
Yeah, I wanted to be on the bottom, so I was really happy those guys chose top, and that kind of gave me, bottom of row 3, which is where I wanted to be, based on the options that we had. So that all worked out really well. And when we got to 2nd, I just was tight, and I just needed to turn just a tick better. And I kind of feel like we had a lot more damage on it than I kind of thought. So I have to imagine that wasn't helping matters. But we were really solid. Like I said, I really don't think I could ask for much more out of the car.
Justin, big picture, 21-41, both have really tough days today. How huge is it for you guys early on to have that 80-plus point cushion? I know last season ended not on the positive note you wanted, but is it good to at least have it early so that you guys can keep on focusing on those wins moving forward?
Yes and no. I think it's great that we have the points that we do, but I think when you look at the last 4 weeks, you can gain as many points as you can equally lose or more. And I feel like our team does a great job of whether it be stage points or finishes at the end of the race. They do a great job of that, and they put me in position to be able to do that. We're going to have days just like the 41 and the 21, right? You're going to have those days, and you just got to minimize the damage, and I feel like our team does a really good job of that. So today was a great day. Could have been better, but to come out of here with the points that we did, to come out of here with the finish that we did, it's hard to be sad at that.
In race conditions, this is your first laps ever here. Just Bring me through your experience. How does it feel coming to a track as historic as this? And you mentioned coming home sixth. I mean, that's really impressive for your first time here.
Yeah, it's a great day to finish sixth my first time here. You know, it was good to get up front and run against those good guys and kind of see what they do to help their car. And I was able to learn a good bit around them and apply that to myself and make myself better there those last 20 laps. So, yeah, really cool to come to Darlington. It's a super tough racetrack. And, you know, it took a while to figure it out, but I feel like by the end of the race, I had a good grasp on it.
One last question. You mentioned how hard it was to figure out. How was it like taking the restarts throughout the day, trying to learn one step at a time and how to get that track position and optimize on those quick opportunities?
Yeah, early in the day, I kind of struggled. I lost a couple spots on restarts, but there at the end, I feel like I was making the most of where I would start. And, yeah, definitely happy with how I progressed throughout the day.
But the winner was Brandon Jones, who returned back to his old stomping grounds at Joe Gibbs Racing and delivered his first victory in almost 3 years. Snapping winless drought is huge, but I feel especially significant for you too, going up against 3 really good Cup drivers in this field too. What did it mean for you to be able to beat Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, 3 guys who were really relevant all day and of course compete at the top level too?
Yeah, I mean, golly, you got to, I think to everyone I've beat here, right? Like today, it was the 3 names you named. The first race, it was Chastain again, and then it was Denny. Like, talking about the best to come to Darlington. I think of Denny and Seabell and Chase for all that matter, right? Like those are your top Cup racers that know how to get it done around this track. So yeah, I saw the 17 had, you know, a decent amount of damage. I wasn't too worried about that. This place is pretty aerosensitive. It's pretty hard if you have some damage like that. I've seen it happen. I've seen Larson be able to make it work, but there's people that it's hard, you know, when you have some issues like that. And so I kind of noticed that, and I kind of excluded him from being able to win the race. But you know, guys like the 19 and a couple of them, like I was thinking they were going to be tough to beat. But my only hope was to try to get them pinned behind those guys with older tires for just a little bit. A lap or 2 is all I really needed to kind of get going, because I think clean air means so much. I kept my car extremely clean all day. There really wasn't a scratch on it, so I knew my balance and my aero effect was going to be really good.
Obviously, you haven't had a lot of time to let it sink in yet, but big picture, you guys are now going to be going playoff racing. How huge is that for you, and how much does that mean for you as long as things continue to work out?
Yeah, I think next step is we did a great job today, but we've got to start getting ourselves more stage points. You know, we've got to start doing better in stages, which I think these last couple weeks have been really promising, been really nice. Martinsville is one of them that I thought, like, okay, like we're holding track position well, we're getting it on pit stops, and then we're also holding it. I think that's the key, right, is you've got the pit crew that's awesome, so take advantage of them, but also being able to not fall 3 or 4 spots on a restart back, you know, try to maintain, if not go forward a little bit on restarts. And so that's our next little chunk. Now that we're locked in, let's get a gap opened up here and try to start getting stage points again, try to keep our track position up a little bit higher throughout the whole race. I think today couldn't have gone much better. I mean, we stayed in the top 4, I think, the entire day for the most part, right?
Eddie Kalegi here for Motorsports Today. Beautiful Sunday afternoon at Darlington Raceway, site of the Goodyear 400, race 8 of the 2025 season. This comes off the back of a really fun Xfinity race yesterday with an underdog winner, Brandon Jones, going to victory lane. We had 2 underdog winners at Darlington last year. Brad Keselowski, of course, snapping a skid in the spring. Chase Briscoe doing the same in the fall. And this guy right behind me is my pick, the McDonald's Toyota. That's Tyler Reddick, who almost won this race last season before contact with Chris Buescher that led to the Keselowski victory. Hendrick on the pole with William Byron. Ryan Preece, who's gotten some great finishes thanks to strategy the last couple of weeks, starts second. Some great throwbacks on the grid, 19 of them. You see the Dale Sr. throwback right behind me. Austin Cindric is sporting a cool one too for Kyle Larson, harkening back to the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes days of Terry Labonte in that 5 car. So should be a good one, and fun it was. William Byron was dominant to start, leading 243 laps, the most consecutive to start a Cup race in 25 years. His teammate Kyle Larson got into some trouble, but so did Josh Berry, who had a tough crash in stage 3.
It looked like just me and the 45 got together. It's hard to say one way or the other. If he come up a little bit or I was a little too low, obviously you're trying to keep it out of the fence and clear that bump and everything. So, yeah, I don't know, racing deal, I guess.
Kyle Larson had another spin later when Blaney passed Reddick out of the final green flag pit stop set, which set up a frantic finish. Denny Hamlin ended up triumphing, and tough breaks for Christopher Bell and Ryan Blaney.
I mean, just if the caution didn't come out, I thought we had it won easily. Like, you know, we were so much faster on newer tires. Did a great strategy call of running long. You know, those guys short pitted and they were struggling real bad. And yeah, I mean, I thought, you know, if we could have just got off 2 and with the lead and caution didn't come out, I thought it was kind of right off in the sunset. Just it's not how it worked, unfortunately. And lost the lead on pit road, lost the front row starting spot, and you never had a shot.
Christopher, early on in the race, you guys kind of got mired back in traffic and had to work your way up through the caution. Kind of bring me through your day, and what was it like towards the back, dealing with the dirty air, and then finally get back up towards the front?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a completely different car. It's insane, you know, how bad traffic is. And the great cars, if you have a great car, you can come through traffic. Like I saw the 12, he mowed up through there. The 21, he was able to move up through there pretty good too. So I thought they were 2 really strong cars. You know, my car just, it was terrible in traffic. And then all of a sudden you put me up front and I'm able to maintain my position. So still not what we need, but, you know, it's a step in the right direction.
You guys came in on lap 239. I'm wondering, were you guys surprised how much the 45 had jumped you there, only pitting 2 laps earlier?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, I thought he was on a completely different strategy because I didn't even see him. You know, I saw the 24 come out of the pits and I'm like, okay, I'm racing him. Then my spotter kept telling me the 45, 45, 45. I'm like, he was behind me when the cycle started. I was confused how he got so far ahead, but yeah, I mean, he was gone. Obviously, the 12 ran him down, but we didn't have the performance in the Camry this week.
Early on, it looked like it was going to be an abysmal day. How does it feel to leave here with this top 5 finish?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's just a testament to the team. Pit crew did an amazing job, and you know, Adam did a great job keeping working on it and giving us something to fight with there at the end.
But it's back-to-back wins for Denny Hamlin, the second multi-time winner in the Cup Series this season. His crew chief, Gayle, and his owner, Joe Gibbs, on the win and Denny's work ethic.
Chris, you alluded to the 45 strategy. I'm just wondering from your side, I know Christopher was very surprised how quick 45 kind of got through, undercutting them only by 2 laps. I know you guys went longer, but were you guys surprised how big of a gap Reddick had with their strategy?
No, I think we look at all those scenarios and then you fit it to like, okay, what do I have for a car today? Because we had talked about that strategy and we're like, okay, we don't have a good long run car, so if we do this strategy, we're rolling the dice for a caution before they get to us, you know, and that we don't fall off really heavily in the last 10 laps if we're at a, 60 lap run towards the end of the race. And if it goes green, we're going to be way worse than second or third based on our long run strategy. But, that was an option that we had discussed trying to pull the trigger on potentially, but it's just a play for a caution. For them, they probably had a little better long run speed, or maybe they didn't quite know and they're like, okay, this is the only one that works for us. We're behind the 11 already, so if they go long, we can't do anything different, and it might have just been that for them.
And I'm wondering to get your feelings and emotion. Last week, of course, Denny comes out, has the fastest car all day and comes out, but is it more fulfilling this week to have a team effort come up there in a big moment and you guys show a very big clutch moment to get a win?
Well, I'm super pumped for the pit crew. I think, yes, the unity in the team, this is awesome for them. Their confidence, right? They've been P1 for a while. They've been the best pit crew, but to be able to, show that with a win directly from what they did on the last pit stop is super for them. For me, from a standpoint, I'm going to nitpick the car and be upset that we didn't have a better car, didn't have a better long-run car. The things we tried to do didn't necessarily work out as well as we had hoped. But from a team standpoint, I love it. I love that, at least the camaraderie with all those guys and getting to enjoy that moment with them is there.
A lot of people have talked about with Denny Hamlin the longevity that he continues to show, and people wonder when he's going to fall off, and that clearly hasn't happened. Back-to-back wins, being his owner now for 2 decades now. Just what about Denny's work ethic continues to keep him at the top of his game?
Well, I can tell you this. One of the things about going in the sim, and that's hard work. You're in there, and honestly, I think Denny is in the sim as much as anybody we have, any of the young guys. Stays after it, and I've told the story, I mentioned it the last time I talked about Denny. I went to him at Watkins Glen 2 years ago, and he had struggled road racing. They went as far as putting other setups on his car. And that guy went to work in the sim and worked as hard as he could, and he sat on 3 poles in road racing. And so you get somebody at that age that still has the drive to get it done. I think Denny has a real drive, and I think we're fortunate to have him.
Eddie Kalegi, Tim Moore here with you, wrapping up a fantastic weekend of racing at the Lady in Black Darlington Raceway. Brandon Jones crossed this line first last night. Denny Hamlin did the same in the Cup Series today. Joe Gibbs Racing, absolute clinic, and Denny Hamlin still in the win at the end, Tim.
Oh, yeah, and for Denny, too, it becomes the 15th driver ever in Darlington's history to come out with a top 5 starting result, him being starting third, and ultimately securing the victory. And for Joe Gibbs Racing now, it's 5 wins in a span of 8 now to open up the year. You talk about points, you talk about opportunities. Denny up to second in points, and he won Bristol last year as well. Could he three-peat just like Christopher Bell?
We shall see. Now, a lot of alumni here, the throwback schemes. Some drivers had some poignant comments about throwback weekend one way or another. Tim, has it lost its luster or should it keep going?
Well, I don't know what Chase Elliott's talking about or William Byron about how this event shouldn't continue. To sit there and get today to talk 20 minutes, not even on camera, to guys like Jeff Bodine, Morgan Shepherd, even guys like Ross Chastain in the current field, coming and showing what this event is all about. This sport's all about honoring history and the opportunity, and there's no better track than here in Darlington, South Carolina. And of course, for you and me, and Colin behind the camera, this is our first time here, and you cannot say this track does not represent tradition, and the fans came out today. That's who matters the most. They care about this event more than anybody else.
We had a tremendous time covering it. Stay tuned for more from Motorsports Today.